The first wrong thing was the guest book. Last entry said, checked out 3 days AGO, great stay, with 3 smiley faces, but the coffee pot was still half full and warm when we walked in. That hit me first, the smell of coffee, not fresh, but not old either, like someone had just walked away from it and expected to come back. Our boots squeaked on the tile, our breath still fogging from the drive, and that stupid, cheerful handwriting stared up from the guest book while steam barely lifted off the pot. I remember saying, 3 days ago, my ass, and everyone kind of laughed, but it sounded forced. Airbnb photos hadn't shown the back wall of the living room. They'd shown the rustic crap, charming wood stove, plaid couch, those metal signs that say things like live, laugh, love. In person, that whole side was glass, floor to ceiling, facing nothing but trees. Not a friendly forest either, just endless black trunks and snow, stacked tight so you couldn't see 10 feet in. No road, no other cabins, no lights. Just trees pressing up to that glass like they wanted in. No curtains. That pissed me off in this weird way I can't explain. Like if you're gonna put people in the middle of nowhere, at least give them something to shut the world out. We dumped our bags, stomped around, tried to claim rooms like it was a normal weekend. 4 of us, me, my girlfriend Kara, her brother Nate, and his on-off girlfriend Jess. Everyone had their own reason for being there. Kara wanted quiet. Nate wanted to get drunk away from cops. Jess wanted pictures for Instagram. I just wanted to not think about work for a minute. Instead, I kept drifting back to that glass, that coffee, that empty driveway when we pulled in. By the time the sun went down, it felt like the cabin shrank in half and the dark outside doubled. At night, we lit the fireplace and turned the lamps down, and suddenly we were on stage in a black ocean. The glass turned into a mirror. We saw the room twice, once around us, once ghosted in front of those trees. Every time I moved, for reflections moved with me, floating over the woods. Anything could have been standing just past that glare, and we wouldn't have seen shit. I hated it. I kept getting up to check the slider, the lock, the stupid stick in the track. Everyone made fun of me for being paranoid until the jokes got old. We ate, drank, half-watched a movie. At some point, I dozed off on the couch, dead tired from the drive. I remember Kara shaking my foot like, "Come on, you're snoring." And I hauled myself up, grabbed my hoodie, and went to the bedroom. I checked the glass wall one more time before I closed the door, just a reflection of the fire and that empty couch. The cabin was quiet in that way that hurts your ears. Walls creaked, wind pushed at the roof. Pipes ticked. I lay there scrolling my phone, trying to get a signal, flipping between apps that wouldn't load. Somewhere across the hall, Nate laughed too loud at something, and Jess hissed at him to shut up. Normal stuff. Around midnight, my phone buzzed. Cabin Wi-Fi camera notification I didn't know existed. It popped up over my feed, some app one hadn't opened. Little thumbnail of our living room, black and white, grainy. Motion detected. Living room. All 4 of us were in our rooms. I stared at that line, so long it stopped looking like English. My first thought was, okay, glitch. Second thought, why the fuck is there a camera in the living room? Third thought, we did not sign up for that. I got up, heart already going too fast, and stepped into the hallway. Light from my screen cut a slice out of the dark. Kara mumbled, asked what I was doing, and I just said, "Did you guys know about a camera?" Too loud, apparently, because the other doors opened almost at the same time. Baggy t-shirts, socks, sleep-mashed faces, everyone squinting at me. I showed them the notification. Nobody laughed this time. We regrouped with the biggest knife and a mag light. That part is funny now, how we thought a kitchen knife made us dangerous. Nate grabbed the heavy one from the block, white-knuckled it like he'd ever been in a real fight. I took the flashlight. Kara clung to my arm. Jess kept snapping. "If this is a fucking prank, I swear to God I'll kill you." Nobody answered her. The living room sat empty, but the sliding door stood open 2 inches. The fire had burned low, mostly coals, just enough light to paint the room orange. Snow blew in a thin line across the floor. It made this perfect little white tongue on the wood, like a timestamp of how long the door had been cracked. Long enough to build that line, not long enough to freeze the whole place. Outside, in the reflection, I saw us, and one more shape by the woodpile that wasn't there when I turned around. It was just a smudge at first, darker than the trees, wrong height, wrong angle. For a second, I thought it was some reflection glitch, something behind us, so I spun with the mag light. Just the stove, the couch, the glass. No extra person. My chest went cold in this very specific way, like my body finally got the memo my brain had been sending all night. Something's off. When I turned back, the shape was gone from the reflection too. We locked everything, called the host. Kara found a number in the app. Hand shaking so bad, she almost dropped her phone. It rang and rang to some generic voicemail. No name, just that robotic leave a message. We left one that started polite and ended not. They wanted to call the cops. Jess flipped out about weed in the car, about us drinking, about getting fined for false reporting. I wanted to leave right then. They argued money, roads, snow, the fact that the nearest town was 30 minutes away down a dark-ass mountain. It got loud and nasty for a minute. We were scared and too stubborn to say it straight. Nobody wanted to sit in that glass room anymore, so we decided to kill the Wi-Fi camera at least. I dug through drawers for the router to unplug the camera and found a stack of Polaroids instead. They were under a nest of takeout menus and old brochures, thick rubber band around them, edges soft from being handled a lot. My brain didn't register what I was looking at right away. Just flash, fabric, skin. Then it clicked. People sleeping. Same couch. Same quilts. Different faces. Not just a couple pictures, either, dozens. Guys sprawled on their backs, mouths open. A woman curled up under the same ugly moose blanket we'd tossed aside. A kid, maybe 12, face turned into the cushion, arm dangling. Angle after angle like whoever took them moved around the room, crouched by the armrest, leaned over from behind. There's this thing that happens when fear gets so sharp it almost feels fake. Like your brain steps back and says, no, this is a movie. That's what it felt like flipping through those photos. I kept waiting to see something that broke the pattern, some sign it was all staged. What I got instead was the last one. The last one was me, on that couch an hour earlier, mouth open, hoodie half off. Same hoodie I was still wearing, strings dangling. Fire in the background at the same level. My phone on my chest, in the exact spot it had been when Kara shook me awake. I didn't remember hearing a shudder, didn't remember anyone standing over me. I made this noise I've never heard myself make before and shoved the picture at the others. Just started crying instantly, ugly and loud. Nate swore and grabbed his keys. Kara just backed away from me like the photo might bite her. Suddenly, all the bullshit about roads and cops and deposits evaporated. There wasn't a vote. Our bodies decided for us. We left in pajamas and boots. No one bothered with real clothes, just coats over whatever we'd slept in, bags yanked half-zipped, chargers dangling. We didn't turn off the lights, didn't check the fire, didn't clean shit. Nate's hands shook so hard, he dropped the keys twice before he got the SUV started. As we pulled away, headlights swept across the trees and that glass wall, and for a second, I thought I saw someone standing inside the cabin, near the couch, but I refused to blink long enough to be sure. The road out was just a narrow strip of packed snow between walls of trees. No streetlights, no reflectors, just our beams punching a tunnel into the dark. Nobody talked. Radio off. Every time Nate slowed for a curve, Kara begged him to go faster and just snapped at her to shut up, and they almost started fighting until I yelled at both of them. My stomach hurt so bad I thought I'd puke. Halfway down the dirt road, someone had strung new wire between two trees at bumper height. Fresh, bright, no snow on it. The headlights caught it at the last second. This silver line right where a neck would be if you were on a bike or a snowmobile, or right where it would peel the hood off if you hit it fast enough. Nate shouted, jerked the wheel, but it was too late to stop on the ice. The SUV hit the wire with this horrible twang, metal screaming, post shuddering. The wire snapped loose and whipped over the windshield, disappeared into the dark behind us. Nobody looked back. We plowed through and didn't look back. We didn't stop until we hit the main highway and saw real lights again. Gas stations, trucks, normal life. Everyone talked over each other then, trying to make sense of it, wondering if we'd imagined half of it, if it would sound stupid later. It didn't. The next morning, once the sun was up and there were people around us again and coffee in real cups, we checked our phones. There were new notifications from the camera app. Motion, 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 all through the night, all from living room. We didn't open the clips. None of us wanted to see what the camera saw when we left. The host messaged the next day, angry about damage to the property. My uncle's hunting cabin already smelled wrong before I unlocked it. Not mildew, not mouse piss. Sour sweat and fried food. The snow on the steps had boot prints that weren't mine or his. Too many, too recent. My hand just stuck on the knob. Boots all over the little porch, different sizes, some soft at the edges, one set sharp and new, like whoever left them was still close. I'd driven 2 hours off the highway and another half hour down a logging road to clear my head for a weekend. Instead, I stood there counting strangers' footprints and trying to convince myself it was fine. I told myself it was probably snowmobilers or some drunk neighbor using the place. Uncle would have warned me, I thought. He's an asshole, but he's not casual about his guns or his land. I shoved the key in, turned it, shouldered the door before I could talk myself out of it. Inside, the table was set. 2 plates, 2 beer cans, greasy pans still on the stove. TV antenna rigged with coat hangers, static hissing. Somebody lived here. The air felt warm and greasy, not cold like a place that had sat empty all winter. The ceiling light hummed. My uncle always killed the breaker when he left. I could hear in my head bitching about wasted juice. I dropped my bag and just stood there listening. The cabin creaks normally, but this sounded like it had just finished moving. Little ticks and pops in the walls, like a body settling into a chair. I opened the fridge. Bread, hot dogs, mayo, 3 beers. The cold rolled out of my face. The labels weren't yellowed or curled. Someone had stocked up lately. My chest went tight. I backed up to the door and called my uncle. He picked up on the second ring, and I didn't even say hi, just started describing the plates, the footprints, the food. He swore nobody used the place in years, told me to get the fuck out. His voice went hard and sharp like when I dented his truck once. You lock it and you leave, he said. You don't argue with whoever's up there. I told him the highway was 2 hours back and the storm was already chewing the sky. Outside, the trees blurred with blowing snow. I wasn't eager to die in a ditch because some random squatter liked my uncle's cabin. We argued until the signal died. He called me stubborn right as it cut off. I stared at the phone a while. Going back meant that drive in the dark with no service. Staying meant sleeping in the middle of somebody else's shit. I picked the one with 4 walls and a roof. I decided to wait till morning. Barricaded the door with the couch, checked under every bed, every closet. I said just checking out loud like some idiot, just to hear a voice. Bedroom closet had a nail pounded through the inside latch, like someone wanted to lock it from within. The wood around it was chewed from too many hits. I opened it anyway. A rolled-up sleeping bag, stack of canned food, and a plastic tub full of women's wallets sat there. IDs, cards, one with a photo where the woman's eyes were scratched out. I knelt and flipped through them with numb fingers. Different names, different states, all women, all lined up in there like trophies. My brain tried to write a softer version. Maybe they were all stolen from purses at a mall. Maybe some freak just hoarded them. But that nail in the inside latch and that scratched out photo sat in my head and would not move. My uncle kept an old shotgun behind the bedroom door. I checked. Still there, still oiled. I cracked it open, saw the shells, shut it, racked it once. The sound punched the walls. I sat on the bed where I could grab it fast, then shut off everything but the bedroom and kitchen lights so the place wouldn't glow like a lantern in the woods. By full dark, the storm really hit. Snow slapped the windows, wind pushed at the walls. The TV hissed in the front room. I left it like I found it, that stupid static louder than it should have been. I ate one of the canned soups cold, sitting on the bed with the shotgun beside me, boots still on. Footsteps crunched outside, just after dark. 2 sets, clear through the storm. Voices under the wind. One laughed and said, "Told you he wouldn't mind sharing." My whole body went ice. They walked right up to the door like they owned the place. The handle rattled. Then they shoved the door. The couch jumped. The deadbolt clacked in the frame. Another hit, harder. Dust shook out of the molding. I grabbed the shotgun, heart banging so hard it hurt, and stepped into the narrow hall where I could see the front door. The wood bowed with their necks shoved. I racked the old shotgun my uncle kept and screamed that I'd shoot through the wood. For once I didn't stutter. It came out ugly and high, but loud as hell. Everything went still. No more shoves. I heard a low curse, then a soft tap on the window. Not a smash. One knuckle. Top. I turned and a face pressed against the glass, breath fogging a little circle. He smiled like this was flirting. Normal-looking guy, beanie, patchy beard, pale eyes that didn't blink. He leaned a little to the side, trying to see around the curtain, like he was looking into a pet store tank. His buddy muttered they had other spots and weren't wasting a charge on this bitch. I could hear every word through the wall. Other spots sat in my gut like a stone. This wasn't their one secret hideout. This was one of several. Charge made me think of tasers, batteries, car jumpers, all of it bad. They left. No big threat, no we'll be back. Just a last smear of breath on the glass and footsteps crunching away until the wind swallowed the sound. I waited for them to circle around, for the bedroom window to rattle, for glass to explode. Nothing did. Just the storm and the TV static and my own ragged breathing. I didn't sleep. I couldn't even sit on the bed. I slid down next to it, back against the frame, shotgun across my lap, eyes on the bedroom door. Every little tick of the heater, every gust that pushed at the siding felt like someone testing the walls. My legs went numb, my shoulders burned, my brain kept replaying that line. Told you he wouldn't mind sharing. At some point, the storm moved on and the snow noise softened. The cabin went quiet in that thick way that makes you hear your own blood. I kept checking my phone, even though I knew there was no signal. I kept seeing that plastic tub in my head. Those IDs. That scratched out photo. When the dark finally thinned at the window, I waited longer anyway. Then I stood up on stiff legs, dragged the couch off the front door, and unlatched it with my left hand while my right still held the gun. Cold air slapped me. In the morning, the snow was clean except for tire tracks and one boot print sunk right under my bedroom window, toes pointed in. Just one, deep, like he'd stood there a while, staring at the same darkness I stared into from the other side. That boot print made the decision for me. I packed in under 5 minutes, just shoving clothes into my bag, leaving food, plates, everything. The tub of wallets stayed in that closet. I couldn't make myself touch it again. Locking the door on the way out felt stupid, but I did it anyway. Habit, I guess. Halfway to the highway, my phone grabbed a bar of service. I called my uncle with shaking hands and told him the whole thing. The wallets, the nail, the men at the door, the line about other spots, the print under my window. My voice cracked. I didn't care. I just dumped it on him. He went quiet for a long time. Then he told me 2 things. Don't ever go back up there. And he'd handle it. I asked what that meant. He just repeated the first part, voice flat now instead of angry. He sounded scared. I never heard that from him. We haven't talked much about it since. I still see that fogged circle on the glass when I close my eyes some nights. Still hear that laugh. Still picture those wallets and wonder where the women attached to them ended up. My uncle burned the cabin that spring. We realized somebody else had a key when we woke up to the front door, standing wide open, and my friend's backpack neatly emptied on the floor. Nothing missing, everything arranged in a line. Socks, underwear, charger, pill bottle, knife on top. Blade pointed at the bedrooms. For a second, I honestly thought we were still drunk. The air in the living room felt wrong, colder than it should, like someone had just stepped out. You know that feeling when a room remembers a person even after they're gone? It felt like that. Nate just stared at his own stuff on the floor and kept rubbing his face like he could scrub the image out of his eyes. "I didn't do this," he said once, then shut up because nobody had accused him yet and saying it made it worse. The night before had been normal. Drinking, cards, bad music. Remote rental, lake just past the tree line, stars bright enough to hurt. We locked up, double-checked windows, bitched about the shitty deadbolt, then crashed. I remember the exact moment I turned that bolt because it stuck halfway and I had to shove my shoulder into the door to make it line up. I even joked, "There, we're safe now," in that fake horror movie voice. We laughed, opened another bottle, killed the last playlist we'd downloaded before losing signal. That was it. No spooky build-up, no weird vibes, just booze and trash talk, and the four of us too tired to care. Morning made it all feel staged. The backpack sat in the middle of the floor like a display, zipper all the way open. Everything laid out straight, evenly spaced, no overlaps. Even the socks were paired. Whoever did it took time. That bugged me more than anything. A thief grabs and runs. This looked like, I don't know, like someone trying to show us they'd been close. I stepped out on the porch, barefoot, expecting at least one fresh footprint in the thin crust of old snow. Nothing. Our tracks from a night before had frozen into hard little craters. No new ones. No smears. No drag marks. Nobody wiping anything away. Ground was frozen solid. If someone had walked up while we slept, they did it without leaving a mark, which my brain kept trying to reject. The other option sat in my stomach like a stone. They'd come in before we ever locked up and hid. That idea wouldn't leave. I pictured someone already inside while we dealt cards, some quiet shape in the hallway, waiting for us to pass out. We argued about what to do. One car, for people, 3 days of booze and gear. Half our money already spent on the weekend. I wanted to pack everything and go. Nate backed me. He was white around the mouth, staring at that knife. Jess rolled her eyes and said we were overreacting, that nothing was missing, and it was probably one of us being a dick. Kyle sided with her, of course, because he'd paid the deposit and refused to lose 3 days over some creepy arts and crafts shit. It turned into shouting fast. Everybody tired, hung over, scared but pretending not to be. At one point, Jess snapped that if someone really wanted to kill us, they'd have done it while we were blackout, which somehow was supposed to be comforting. I lost the shouting match. We stayed. After that, we did the usual fake security routine. Checked under beds, inside closets, behind the shower curtain. Opened cabinets that couldn't hide a cat, like that mattered. The cabin was small, one hallway with 2 bedrooms and a bathroom at the end, kitchen off the side. We knew its sounds by then. Every board in that place had its own voice. The floor in front of the fridge moaned. The spot by the couch cracked in a sharp pop, in a weird way that made me feel both safer and less safe. I knew that if someone walked that hallway at night, I'd hear exactly where they stepped. But it also meant if I heard anything, there weren't a lot of excuses. We stacked a chair under the front door handle, closed every curtain, set up this stupid alarm with a beer bottle on the bedroom knob and a metal mixing bowl by the door so it would clatter if someone pushed it. It felt like kids playing survival. I could tell none of us really believed it would help, but nobody wanted to say that out loud. That night, the mood crashed. No music, no more jokes. We huddled in one bedroom, all 4 of us, mattresses pushed together like some desperate fort. The cabin got quiet in that way, where silence isn't empty, it's loaded. The lake outside might as well have been another planet. No cars, no planes, just trees and frozen water and us. I tried to scroll my phone out of habit, but we were deep in no signal territory. I put on airplane mode to save battery and set it face down. I remember watching the shadows from the trees move across the curtains and telling myself, if I sleep, it'll be morning sooner. Sometime after 2, the board started talking. Something padded around the cabin between 2 and 3. Not heavy like a bear, deliberate human weight. The sound came in a line from the front door across the living room, slow and unhurried. One step would flex, tiny creak. Another step. You recognize your friend's footsteps after a day in a place like that. This didn't match any of us. It paused by the window near the couch. The glass ticked from the temperature change like it does when you breathe on it in cold air. I lay there, eyes wide open, staring at the bedroom ceiling and counting each creak in my head. It moved again, this slow loop around the cabin, sometimes pausing near a wall, sometimes directly under one of the windows. No rattling handle, no pounding, nothing dramatic. Just someone taking their time, like they were studying the structure. Every time it stopped, my lungs seized up. The worst part was how careful it sounded. Nothing scraped, nothing fell. Whoever it was knew how to move in a wooden house. My phone, on airplane mode, lit twice with calendar alerts I never set. Check locks at 2:13, don't open at 2:27. Both created by this device. I felt the light before I saw it, that faint glow behind my eyelids. I flipped the phone and almost dropped it when I read the first alert. I hadn't touched the calendar in months. No glitch I've ever seen makes specific warnings at the exact time something walks around your rental. I clear the first one with shaking fingers. 14 minutes later, the second lit up, don't open. I didn't even dismiss it. I just let it sit there, screen bright under the blanket, heartbeat punching in my throat. While that second alert still glared at me, the bedroom doorknob turned not quite enough to click. Just a test, metal tightening and relaxing with this slow, steady pressure. The beer bottle on top stayed balanced. The bowl didn't move. Whoever it was knew our little trap was there and didn't want to trigger it. That detail still makes my stomach flip. They weren't just outside. They were paying attention. The knob eased back. No footsteps away. No breathing I could pin down. Just that charged silence where you know someone is on the other side of a thin piece of wood, deciding something about you. At some point, I must have passed out or blacked out with my eyes open, because the next thing I remember is gray light leaking around the curtains and Jess whispering, "Bathroom. I need the bathroom," like a kid. None of us wanted to open that bedroom door, but eventually the body wins. We checked the hallway first. No footprints on the floorboards, no mud, nothing moved. The chair still jammed under the front handle. The bottle still perched on the knob. Everything looked the same until Nate went to piss and called us in. On the inside of the bathroom door, where it had been blank before, someone had carved a new drawing. At dawn, we found a new carving on the inside of the bathroom door, shallow but clear. 4 stick figures on a porch and a 5th one in the trees, closer every frame. The last one had no face. It wasn't deep, but it was deliberate. You could see where the blade had stopped and restarted, the pressure consistent. I remember counting the figures again and feeling that same rock drop in my gut. 4 on the porch, 1 in the trees. Just like us, just like the tree line out front. The last frame made my skin crawl. The faceless one stood right in the middle of the others, like it had stepped up from the trees and joined the group. We didn't argue about leaving after that. We threw our shit into bags without folding anything. Didn't bother with the dishes, didn't look back at the lake. While we drove out, my phone finally grabbed a bar. Jess called the owner on speaker. She described the open door, the backpack, the calendars, the carving, all of it. He sounded freaked out, but kept insisting nobody else had a key. Said he changed the locks himself last fall. Said he lived 3 hours away. Said we were the only booking all month. I listened to his voice and believed him. I don't know if that makes it better or worse. The owner later insisted nobody else had a key. I believe him. Keys aren't the only way in.